Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, setting the record straight about climate. In this video, I'm going to show you how the BBC is targeting young people's mental health. I call it the Bambi syndrome, and we'll explain what that means later. First, we're going to watch about a minute of a BBC video.
If I don't think the future is worth anything, then I'm not going to have children. If I think it is worth something, I will have children.
We are already seeing coastal city flooding, we're already seeing forest fires, we're already seeing flash floods, we're seeing tornadoes. When big ecological disasters happen around the world, I feel a sense of anxiety, I feel a sense of sadness and a sense of loss.
So imagine you go outside and you look up in the sky and there's a comet there, and you know you've just been told by scientists that that comet is racing toward the Earth and it's going to kill everybody and everything in a big firestorm, and nobody else notices the comet. And you say, hey, look, there's a comet and it's going to kill all of us, and people just don't seem to care.
If someone calling himself a scientist told me that climate change was going to kill all of us, I would probably recommend to him that he get some psychological help. Then I'd go off to Twitter, tweet about it, and have a good laugh. These people appear to have no understanding of how the natural world operates. They don't know that forest fires are an essential part of the forest cycle. They don't know that coastal flooding has been occurring for as long as there's been coastlines. They describe ordinary weather events which have happened countless times as being ecological disasters. They seem to believe that before they were born, the world looked something like this. A complete disconnect from reality and total ignorance of history. In other words, the Bambi syndrome. The BBC has the opportunity to educate these young people and alleviate their fears. But the BBC is not doing that. They're doing everything they can to keep these young people ignorant and make them as scared as possible. I could literally spend months going through the long history of weather disasters. But that's not the point of this video, so I'm just going to go through a small handful. In 1607, the Bristol Channel, which has some of the highest tides in the world, was hit by a wind-driven storm surge. The flooding from the storm surge killed thousands of people. A few decades earlier, in 1570, there was a massive storm surge on All Saints' Day in the North Sea. That storm surge killed tens of thousands of people in the Netherlands. The deadliest peacetime natural disaster in Britain's history occurred in February 1953. A massive storm surge flooded about 1,000 miles of Britain's coast and killed several thousand people. Britain's coastal cities have had many bad floods. The BBC could have chosen to educate these young people, but instead they chose to keep them ignorant and scared. Here in the United States, we've had some pretty bad flooding too. During September 1900, the city of Galveston, Texas was destroyed by a hurricane storm surge which killed 10,000 people. This is what the city looked like after the flood. And during September 1926, Miami was destroyed by a hurricane storm surge. The 1926 storm destroyed 50 miles of coastline. Miami looked pretty bad in 1926, but today it's looking just fine. This picture is not causing me a lot of climate anxiety. When I was around this person's age, I was working as a wilderness ranger for the United States Forest Service. The Pecos Wilderness where I was working got a couple of feet of snow today. But things weren't always like this. In 1890, nearly the whole area burned down in a massive forest fire. Forests need fire to regenerate. Now I'm going to show you a video of what the burn area looks like almost 130 years later. And here's a picture I took in Boulder, Colorado this afternoon. These deer do not seem to be experiencing a lot of climate anxiety. They look pretty relaxed. Irrational neuroses like those young people have in the BBC video are strictly a human condition. Forest fire burn acreage is way down in the United States. It's down 80% since the 1930s. Our deadliest forest fires in the United States occurred in October 1871, on a day when Chicago burned to the ground and thousands of people burned to death at multiple fires in Wisconsin and Michigan. When I was this person's age, I'd already been working hard on environmental causes for about a decade. I testified at a congressional hearing in support of a Utah wilderness area. I fought hard for the Clean Air and Water Acts, and I worked as a wilderness ranger. I didn't sit around and get hysterical and neurotic and gaze at my navel like these young people are doing. I went out and did useful things for the world. But what's really disturbing to me is how an official government news source like the BBC could be working so hard to misinform and scare people. Governments don't use the big lie against their people if they have good intentions for them. George Orwell said, "The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history." And this person clearly has no understanding of history. Whatever's going on with our news agencies is not good, and it's very important for people to understand that they're being lied to by official sources. Visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science and propaganda for a long time.